I'll tell you what, this Matthew Stafford injury is big for the 49ers inside the NFC West because of the divisional implications, but also it impacts the landscape in the entire NFC. Also coming up on today's show, will the 49ers trade for a wide receiver before week 1? This is the 49ers Report. I'm Chase Sr. So glad all of you are hanging out here with me. Before we talk about those two topics, let's get the channel to 164,000 subscribers. As you can see with the numbers here to my right, we're only 18 subscribers away from that number. What you get when you lock us in and hit that sub button, Daily Niners Show on your YouTube feed from yours truly, right here on the 49ers Report. So let's begin here. What is going on with Rams quarterback Matthew Stafford? Of course, he started his career with the Detroit Lions, had to make do playing for a really bad organization. He gets traded to the Los Angeles Rams. He teams up with Sean McVay. They win the Super Bowl during the 2021 season, and he's going to go down as one of the most prolific passers in NFL history, and he's most likely going to be a Hall of Famer, especially after winning that Super Bowl. But as we know, he has played through a lot of pain throughout his career. He has dealt with a lot of injuries, and the 37-year-old is dealing with another pretty severe injury, I would say, so far throughout training camp. Because for weeks, the Rams have listed Stafford as week to week. Doesn't sound like anything too severe, right? But then there's this report from Ian Rappaport of the NFL Network, which makes you scratch your head a little bit. And I just had the thought when I read this, there's something bigger looming. There's something else going on, and there's something that the Rams are not telling us. According to sources, Rams quarterback Matthew Stafford is dealing with an aggravated disc and has received an epidural to help him deal with it. Los Angeles has called him week to week, being cautious, but with plans for him to be ready for week 1. The Rams remain confident that Matthew Stafford will be ready to begin the regular season. But as was clear during yesterday's joint practice with the Cowboys, they love what Jimmy Garoppolo, former Niner, brings as his backup. I'll tell you this, a 37-year-old dealing with an aggravated disc in his back, not great. A 37-year-old or anybody, I don't care what your age is, dealing with back problems, it's never good. An epidural is not solving this issue for Matthew Stafford. What it is doing, maybe taking the pain away in the immediacy temporarily, but it's masking the problem, not getting to the root cause. I think this is something for Stafford that could linger, and it's not just going to go away magically overnight. Jesse Morse always puts out some really valuable medical information pertaining to the NFL on X. Said this, Matthew Stafford diagnosed with a herniated disc in his back and hoping an epidural will be enough to help with the pain. Back pain is tricky, and an epidural is essentially just a cortisone shot placed strategically to try to calm down the nerve. It doesn't do the most important thing that truly solves this problem, which is stabilizing the back, re-strengthening the ligaments connected to the lumbar spine and to the hips and sacrum. So it's temporary at best. Huge red flag is how he signed off with that tweet. Now, how this impacts the 49ers, of course, look, this division, the NFC West, is wide open. The Niners could easily go from worst last year to first this year. And the team that is firmly in their way to win that division title is the Los Angeles Rams. The Rams, in my estimation, are Super Bowl contenders. They are the only team throughout the entire playoffs last year who gave the Philadelphia Eagles a game. They nearly came back in shocking fashion to stun Philadelphia. They have a really good offense. They have an improving defense. They have one of the best head coaches in the NFL currently. And they made a trade for Devontae Adams this offseason. But the Rams are not Super Bowl contenders without Matthew Stafford. They might tell all of us that they love Jimmy Garoppolo. Look, we know better than anybody. We know who Jimmy Garoppolo is. A good quarterback who is not elite by any means, and he is not close to the level of quarterback that Matthew Stafford is. So this Rams defense, young and emerging, they have some really good players on that side of the ball. They got so much better as the regular season wore on, and then in the playoffs, they showed a lot of signs of being a really good unit in 2025 and beyond. This offense, still one of the best in the NFL. Got rid of Cooper Kupp. You still have Puka Nacua, Devontae Adams. They just gave Kyron Williams a contract extension. They have an offensive line philosophy I wish Kyle Shanahan adopted, because Sean McVay has invested in that offensive line group. But if Stafford is hurt, it's the Jimmy Garoppolo show in LA, and he can only take you so far. And it's pretty funny that worlds are colliding once again between Devontae Adams and Jimmy G after Adams was on Hard Knocks pretty much saying, I can't do it anymore with Jimmy G. He has missed me too many times, and he's thrown way too many hospital balls in my direction. Now, this is interesting. The odds makers in Las Vegas love the Niners, even with all of the question marks they have on their team. NFC West Odds, Niners, the favorites to win this division at plus 165. But right behind them is the Rams. If Matthew Stafford is out for a longer period of time, I guarantee you these odds are going to plummet. Arizona Cardinals at plus 525. A lot of people like Arizona going into this year saying they're the sneaky team to make the playoffs. They have Kyler Murray. Not buying them. I do think there's some solid value with the Seattle Seahawks. This is a team that was above 500 last year. Their defense does give Kyle Shanahan fits, led by Mike McDonald. And at 6-1, I just like the value there from a betting perspective. Wouldn't shock me if they won the NFC West. I don't think that they should have the fourth best odds to win this division, a la the last place odds to win this division. But then you also look furthermore at the NFC odds. Again, the odds makers really like the Niners. Behind the Philadelphia Eagles at plus 360, Detroit Lions at plus 550, and the Green Bay Packers at 9-1 odds. It's the Niners there also at 9-1 odds. So the fourth best odds, kind of tied for third best odds, to win the NFC and to represent the NFC in Super Bowl 60, which happens to be at Levi's Stadium in Santa Clara. The Rams there at 10-1 odds. So this Matthew Stafford injury could loom large for San Francisco and the other contenders across the NFC, because that team is not the same team without Stafford as they are with him, because he's still one of the top quarterbacks in the game. And I would even say that behind Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, Matthew Stafford probably my fifth best quarterback in the NFL. That's how good he is. You give me him as my quarterback, I know I have a shot week in and week out. Let me pop up today's poll question. Will the Niners win the NFC West? Yes or no? And does the breaking news today on Matthew Stafford change your opinion? Join the conversation down in the comment section right now. Also, these Fred Warner jerseys are available for just $80. That's right, $80 for one of the best Niners in the history of this organization. 20% off, but you must use our link in order for that deal to apply, because Fanatics is hooking it up for all of the faithful and the viewers of the 49ers Report. It is chatsports.com/Warner. I'm putting that link down below in the comments section, in the show notes, and attached to the pinned comment of today's show. All right, let's move forward on today's show. This is the San Francisco 49ers Report. My name is Chase Sr., and coming up, let's hit on some Niners trade buzz as training camp progresses. Looking ahead to the first preseason game against the Denver Broncos on Saturday. A lot of interesting stuff to get to here on the program. Could the Niners make a trade for a wide receiver? Let's dive in here. You factor in the current wide receiver situation for this ball club right now. We have no clue when Brandon Aiyuk is going to come back. He continues to rehab coming off that torn ACL and MCL from October. But remember, there was other structural damage inside that knee. I think the target point for Aiyuk at some point in the middle range of the 2025 season. So that's the Aiyuk situation. As for Jauan Jennings, he wants a new deal. According to Adam Schefter weeks ago before training camp got underway, the report was pay me or trade me. Well, Jauan Jennings reported the training camp, but then he re-aggravated that calf injury that he injured in the spring, hasn't practiced since. Is this his way of holding in? Is this his way of not practicing because he doesn't want to risk getting hurt because that could impact his payday in the future from the Niners or somebody else. Either way, pretty interesting situation, right? The 49ers have also had to add so many bodies at the wide receiver spot. Equinemius St. Brown, signed, released, signed. Quintez Cephas, signed, released. Marquez Callaway, signed, released. Andy Isabella, signed, released. They have made a bunch of moves at the wide receiver spot. Robbie Chosen Anderson, signed. At some point, any minute now, might get let go. Now, a lot of that is due to injuries at the depth spots for San Francisco, but also Jacob Cowing, hamstring. Demarcus Robinson, is he going to get suspended by the NFL? Jordan Addison also got a DUI and was speeding. He got suspended the first 3 games of the year. Ricky Pearsall, can he stay healthy? Jordan Watkins, only a rookie. You see where I'm going here? It's cloudy within that wide receiver room for San Francisco. And the Niners have the ability to make a blockbuster move if they choose to do so. They have the 3rd most cap space in the NFL at $47 million even. Patriots, most cap space in the league at 59.8, just a shade under $60 million. The Lions have now overtaken the Niners with available cap space at 47.8, followed by the Arizona Cardinals at 35.4. So a big gap between the Niners and Arizona, and then the Las Vegas Raiders there at 34.8. Of course, the strategy for San Francisco could be to roll some of this cap space over to next year. Also, keep in mind that they are eating $80+ million for players who are no longer on their team. And so the Niners this offseason have kind of reset the roster and the salary cap to a certain degree. But if San Francisco believes that they have a chance this year, why not use this cap space to upgrade your football team? I know that the Niners have undergone a youth movement, but San Francisco has a lot of win-now players, and they have still made some win-now moves. Paying Brock Purdy, paying George Kittle, paying Fred Warner. Last offseason, extended Christian McCaffrey, gave a pay bump, and redid Trent Williams' deal. You have Nick Bosa. You paid Diamador Lenore. It's an expensive team and a talented team with win-now players. And the Niners also have the easiest schedule in the entire NFL. The NFC West is wide open. San Francisco can contend if they stay healthy. I don't like the depth on this football team, but if injury luck is finally on their side for the first time seemingly in Kyle Shanahan's era, outside of 2023, they have a shot. And a dynamic wide receiver can really help to elevate the offense and the wide receiver position. And there's also this too. Brock Purdy is a very underrated deep ball thrower. He could chuck it downfield. But last year, a huge problem for the Niners, wide receivers gaining separation. But as part of Kyle Shanahan's play calling and his trust in Brock Purdy, look at the percentage of passes at or behind the line of scrimmage. These are the players who threw the fewest passes at or behind the line of scrimmage in the NFL. Bottom 5. What do you notice here? Jalen Hurts at 17.5%. Joe Flacco at 14.9%. Brock Purdy, 14.3%. The third fewest passes in the NFL at or behind the line of scrimmage. He likes to be aggressive, pushing the ball downfield. He processes very well. He throws with touch, timing, anticipation. He can layer balls in there as good as anybody in the NFL. You know what would help him with that? A number 1 wideout. You don't currently have that. So an area where the Niners were not good last year, separation. And Brock Purdy, underrated again as a deep ball thrower. Should the Niners get Purdy, a stud wide receiver who has a track record of going deep? There are 2 superstar level wide receivers who have proven throughout their entire careers that they are capable of doing that. And these 2 players would help this Niners offense improve. They would help to elevate Brock Purdy, and they would do so in the final year of Purdy's contract as a rookie on that rookie deal, should I say, final year of his rookie deal while he's still affordable. So why not try to maximize that in this current Super Bowl window. I'm talking about Terry McLaurin of the Commanders and Tyreek Hill of the Miami Dolphins. Both of these players separately are unhappy with their teams. McLaurin wants a new deal, and it just seems like Tyreek Hill is over the whole Dolphins Mike McDaniel experiment. He has voiced his unhappiness many times, and trade rumors around him have been hot. For McLaurin, he wants a pay raise. He has been a steady, productive wide receiver for Washington who has 5 straight years of 1,000 yards receiving. He's had to deal with a lot with Washington as they were a dysfunctional organization for a bulk of his career prior to last year. Last year, he became Jayden Daniels' number 1 wideout. He had 13 touchdowns, and now, going into the final year of his deal, he has earned a significant pay raise, but the Commanders haven't given it to him yet. Terry McLaurin is no longer a top 10 highest paid wide receiver. He wants to be back within this list. And according to reports, he wants some elements of the DK Metcalf contract in his contract. And DK, 4th highest paid wideout at $33 million per year. Matt Barrows of The Athletic covers the Niners, does a great job in doing so. And I thought what he said about an Aiyuk for McLaurin trade was very interesting. It's not so far-fetched considering this scenario was discussed a year ago and Aiyuk was the subject of a high-profile hold-in. Aiyuk had the Commanders at the top of possible trade destinations because of his relationship with and admiration for Jayden Daniels. The 49ers probably would have acquiesced to his request if McLaurin was a part of the trade package. But the Commanders didn't want to part with the receiver. A year later, would they reconsider? Now it's McLaurin who's causing a stir and whose feelings are hurt. While Aiyuk is coming off an October 20th ACL tear and is not expected to be ready for the start of the year, he's also 2.5 years younger than McLaurin and has relationships throughout Washington's headquarters. Adam Peters, Deebo Samuel, and others. He's friends with the quarterback. He's close to Deebo. He was drafted by GM Adam Peters, who was the 49ers' top college scout at the time. Lengthy contract battles leave bridges burning. Wouldn't both players be happier where there's no smoke? This would be a fascinating move. I just think it's unlikely given Aiyuk's knee injury. Plus, you'd have to pay McLaurin more, most likely, than what Aiyuk is getting paid. And, as we mentioned, he is older. But man, he's been a good player for a long time. 3rd-round pick out of Ohio State in 2019. He has had 5 straight 1,000-yard seasons. Even as a rookie, he was over 900 yards, and last year, he was just awesome as the go-to option for Jayden Daniels. Do I think it makes sense for Washington to trade him? No. They are in a Super Bowl window. They have a quarterback on his rookie contract, and they're not a Super Bowl contender without Terry McLaurin. As for Tyreek Hill, it just seems as though he has worn out his welcome with Miami. The patience with Mike McDaniel is growing thin. There was a situation the other day in which they butted heads and Tyreek Hill spoke to the media and unveiled things that Mike McDaniel didn't want him to share. And this has been going on for a little while. And Tyreek Hill, this is why Andy Reid got rid of him. Because as a personality, he can be a little bit difficult to manage and handle. But what you can't deny, he is one of the most electrifying, exciting, and explosive wide receivers in the history of the National Football League. He is called the Cheetah for a reason. He moves fast. He gets behind the defense. He is explosive. He is a threat to score a touchdown at any given moment. Since going to Miami, these numbers with 2 in and out of the lineup and sometimes having the likes of Skylar Thompson throwing him passes makes these numbers even more impressive. 1,700 yards on 119 catches, 14.4 yards per catch in 2022 with 7 touchdowns. In 2023, 119 catches, nearly 1,800 yards, 15.1 yards per catch, and 13 touchdowns. And then last year, with Tua missing so much time, still had 81 catches, 959 yards, 11.8 yards per catch, and 6 touchdowns. Now, of course, these moves would signal that the Niners are going all in. I'm not against that strategy. I think that Tyreek Hill would be more affordable in a trade than Terry McLaurin because I think the Dolphins just want to get rid of him and get him out of their building, out from their organization. You think about what the Dolphins have done this offseason. They've changed the culture a little bit, right? Jalen Ramsey was unhappy. See ya. Tyreek Hill is unhappy. Still on the team. This is a way for Miami to kind of reset a little bit and get rid of a wide receiver who clearly doesn't like the head coach, nor does he respect him. But the 49ers also might want to let their young wide receivers develop. Ricky Pearsall has been one of the best players throughout all of training camp. Jacob Cowing, 4.4 speed, had a great spring before he hurt his hamstring. Jordan Watkins, 4.3 speed, has had his moments throughout training camp. They signed Demarcus Robinson. He's been good throughout the spring and summer. Russell Gage has had a really good training camp. And so you could have an effective room without paying a wide receiver $30+ million per year. And I think the Niners would rather do that than trade for one of these players. But nonetheless, an intriguing subject matter to discuss, and I leave you with this. Should the 49ers make a trade for a wideout? T for trade, P for pass. Let your feelings be known down in the comments section. As always, thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.